What's up, duelists? I'm back from my short hiatus of a couple of days. A lot of stuff has happened this week, and I just want to go over it a little bit with you guys because it's affected me, and I think that that's like something I should keep you guys aware of. Like, you're my audience. You guys watch me. You guys are engaged with all this stuff, and there's just a lot going on right now. So first things first, we are living through a historic world event, and not a good one. We are living through currently a genocide, which is a really terrible thing. I have a lot of friends in occupied Palestine, and I have a lot of friends in the Gaza area, and it's been kind of a nightmare situation the last week for me mentally. So if you guys can, find an organization to help relief funds, or if you can, maybe write your local politician an email and just be like, yo, what's going on with this? Like, why aren't we doing anything about this? Just urge for some sort of urgency, because a lot of people are dying, and it's kind of crazy to have this conversation in the year of our fucking Lord 2023 with a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh players on a platform that is larger than it probably ever should have been. But here we are. So that's just something that I wanted to get off my chest and just say, like, this is a pretty serious thing to me. It's a pretty serious thing to the people that are close to me. So if you guys want to help, it would go a long way, and at least knowing that you tried feels good, I guess. In any case, the next few things that need to be discussed is there are two more Ultimate Edison Time Wizard events for the rest of this year, which is actually really sick. At the next few YCSs, I believe Indianapolis is the next one. So if you guys are going to those YCSs, you have access to a massive Edison tournament. And then the next one is the elephant in the room, is that DB added Edison Ranked. To which, honestly, my initial feelings with regards to it was like, at this point, it's kind of like, it's cool, don't get me wrong, but man, it took fucking forever, you know what I mean? Like, it took long enough, you know what I mean? Like, what were you waiting for? Like, why now, you know? And then on top of that, I'm like, I've already kind of adapted the video formula and the ecosystem of, like, at least my community to, like, not be, like, ladder focused. It's more like 8-man focused. And so, like, having the ladder is kind of, like, meaningless to me specifically, because I already have, like, a working formula that's better than just me hopping on ladder and stuff. That being said, will I hop on the ladder? Maybe in future videos. If you guys want to see me grind the ladder with, like, a specific deck or something, you could let me know. But I just think that, like, the road to rank number 1, that sort of stuff, it's very time consuming to record those, and I don't necessarily have that amount of time to dedicate to playing every single day to, like, grind an Edison ladder or whatever, because there are definitely people who are going to grind it more over the larger course of time more than I am. And at the same time, also, Edison Ranked is fundamentally just what we had before, which is the unlimited unrated, and we're just queuing against DB randoms ultimately, at least until you're, like, at the very, very top, and even then, like, at the top of the elo, you're still going to be getting people who are, like, below average. So it's, like, more or less the same as the 8-mans, but less exciting in my opinion. But I don't know. In any case, if you want to take place in these 8-mans, there's a link, Yu-Gi-Oh Discord, in the description below. And yeah, this is a deck that I built. This is a Dark World deck. You guys are probably waiting for me to fucking talk about it. You're like, Keegan, talk about the deck. But there's just a lot happening this week. There's a lot happening. I've been gone for 4 days, and a lot of stuff has happened, so I'm trying to catch you guys up. I posted a poll on, like, I think it was Saturday, and I asked you guys what deck you wanted to see me play, and the highest rated one was Dark World, so I built this Dark World deck. This is not the best Dark World list. It does have some pretty serious weaknesses, but it's just trying out a lot of concepts that I have in my brain. The first concept is cut Dark World dealings, because that card is never good, basically. It only ever helps your opponent more than it helps you. I noticed even in the games where I resolved the Dark World effect off Dark World dealings, I was still so far behind just from my opponent getting the draw 1, discard 1, that it was not worth including the card. The only interactions this deck has with Dark World is card destruction, Dark World Lightning, Morphing Jar, and Drill Warrior. So those are the only ways we can activate these Dark World monsters' effects. That being said, that is generally speaking enough, because like Gold and Silva, like, they're just 5-star monsters on their own, which isn't that bad. Like, you can just tribute some of them off, like, a Dandy token or off brain control or something. Like, that's not too bad. And these little guys, they're debris targets. So, like, worst case scenario, like, you set him and then you level him up into an Iron Chain. And then if you do get the combo with Dark World Lightning or Card Destruction or Morphing Jar, or even the Quick Draw Dandy combo with these guys, it becomes pretty devastating. So I've already recorded this 8-man. I've already played through this 8-man. I'm going to show you guys all of the matches from this 8-man. It's going to be pretty exciting to see how this deck works. And I'll explain more about the deck in the matches. So the first match I had is versus Brad Samsu. I lose the rock, paper, scissors, which is always tough. Looks like my opponent has less extra decks than usual. What I don't like about the new Edison thing is it doesn't show you how much is in their extra deck, which I feel like is public information. So I don't know why it's not showing us that, but whatever, here we are. He sets 4 and passes, and I'm like, well, that's lovely. But my hand's pretty good. Like, I have Sangan to kind of attack into back row. I have Book to stop if it gets deprisoned, and then I have Upstart to kind of dig, so I find debris. So my hand, going first, this hand would have obviously been a slam dunk hand, you know, it would have just been Drill Stardust. But going second, we got to play it a little bit more passively, because you don't want to go Drill Dandy into back row. You get 2 for 1 really easily. And you don't want to go Drill Dandy and then, like, with hopes to debris nuke into a potential Starlight Road. It's one hell of a way to lose a game at Starlight Road. So you just want to open things up with Sangan. Maybe, like, bait the spot removal. Then once his spot removal is gone, you can go for the drill and you can just play through the Starlight Road that's blanked and set there. Attack for 1,000. That just connects it. Undoes our Upstart Goblin. We are playing Upstart Goblins in this deck because it's imperative that we find our combo pieces, like, together. Like, if we have Dark World Lightning, we need to have the optimal chances of hitting basically Dark World Lightning plus a Dark World monster, because that's the big power play this deck has. We draw into Trap Dust Shoot, which is normally good, but currently obviously very bad. Another reason the Upstarts are decent is because they can draw us into stuff like Trap Dust Shoot, Solemn Judgment, Dark Arm, that sort of stuff, and the Debris Dandy not Debris Dandy, Quick Draw Dandy combo. We attack for 1,000, and here he finally procs one of his back row, which is Metal Reflect Slime. A lot of you guys have been asking to see this deck as well, so it's pretty cool that I get to showcase both of them in the same video. Metal Reflect Slime is going to stop my Sangan's attack. We have a couple of options here, but I think the best option for us is just normal debris. Or not normal debris, sorry, just pass. This turn we pick up the Dark World Lightning, and I'm like, oh, that's very good. That's very, very good, because now I can normal debris, I can synchro with Sangan, right? So I can normal this, synchro here. Don't make Black Rose, because again, Starlight Road crushes us here. And our opponent did set 5. So I'm thinking, like, okay, they've got to have Starlight Road, right? Like, that's just the only thing that makes sense. I'm going to go Ancient Fairy Dragon instead. And I'm going to use Sangan's effect to search for Gren. Because Gren can help us blow up face-up spell and traps, while Dark World Lightning can help us target face-down spell and traps. So I'm going to go for that Dark World Lightning. I'm going to target the middle set. And Brad is going to chain it. Reckless Greed. He's also going to chain another Reckless Greed, so he's going to draw 4 here. I think this is a bit of a missequence from Brad. He would have wanted to hold that Reckless Greed in case we had a second Dark World Lightning. We did search for the Gren, so it's possible we were holding multiple Dark World Lightnings here. And also, you know, if Gren targets that Reckless Greed, he'll want it to be chainable. So he should wait till our end phase to play that other Reckless Greed as well. Because now he's going to draw 4, and now I'm going to be like, alright, so he's playing chainable back row and continuous back row. This is most likely Uriah. And then that means he most likely doesn't have a way to interact with Quick Draw Dandy into Drill, and then Drill use Gren to pop his back row. So I'm gonna go for it now, because he played that Reckless. Had he not played that Reckless, I'm not going for this Quick Draw Dandy here. But because he did, I'm just like, alright, I feel comfortable going for this. I feel safe. Drill's gonna use the effect to banish. He's Reckless locked. We get a Dust Shoot him. I'm feeling pretty strong about our chances here. And Drill with Gren versus this deck is insane. We just pop back row every single turn. So we pitch Gren. Gren's going to activate. We're going to target that set right there, and that's Mirror Force, and hell yeah. We're going to go ahead and start our Trap Dust Shoot and set our Book of Moon. And we're going to Trap Dust Shoot him in the draw phase, so, or not draw phase, in the standby phase. So we're going to Trap Dust Shoot. We're going to see Morphing Jar, Uriah, and like the other cards. Now I had a lot of considerations to leaving him with the Jar, because Jar is so bad against our deck if we draw Dark World monsters. Like if we draw Gold or Silva, him having Jar is amazing for us. But that being said, I have to count on drawing Gold or Silva, and I just didn't want him having the best way of digging out of this hand, which is set 4, or set 3, set Jar. He can't set 4 here, because Metal Reflect Slime still does take up that spell and trap zone. So, I'm going to take the Jar. We have perfect information. He can activate the Magic Planner, but he's going to have to do it at the loss of his Metal Reflect Slime, which is good for us, so, yeah. He's going to set 3, or set 2, activate the Planter. Another poor sequencing from Brad Samsu here. What he should have done was actually Planter before setting 2. Because now that I know what these 2 are, I'm going to be able to play around them immaculately. He draws 2 new cards, and he's going to set 1 more card, telling me that this is not Fiendish Chain or Good Goblin Housekeeping that I do know about. So I have more information here than I had before. I know exactly what these two sets are. Now, I don't know which one is in which spot, but I know exactly which ones are there. So I'm not going to blow one of these up if I know that I can play through both of them. Alright, sets the Mask of Restrict. We do end up drawing the gold. So, or not Mask of Restrict, sorry, Mask of Darkness. We do end up drawing the gold. And so I feel kind of silly for getting rid of the Morphing Jar, but alas, here we are. It's still another dark towards our Dark Armed. So we're going to bring back that Drill. We're going to go ahead and add back that Gren. Now, for those of you thinking he could Fiendish Chain you here, he actually cannot Fiendish Chain and stop me from adding back, because that's all part of the same effect of Drill getting Special Summon back. Now, he could Fiendish Chain the Drill in response to the effect to Banish, which is what I'm going to go for here. So I say Drill effect to Banish. He goes Chainlink 2 Fiendish Chain, and I go Chainlink 3 Book of Moon. So Chainlink 3 Book of Moon is going to put Drill face down, and Drill's effect actually still does resolve when he's put face down. So it's part of the reason Book of Moon is so strong in this deck, is it helps you play through situations like this, or with Skill Drain, or a bunch of other instances in which you would want to book your Drill in response to his own effect being used. So yeah, he comes out, I try to activate it, opponent chains Fiendish Chain, we chain Book of Moon, so Book of Moon is going to resolve first, Fiendish Chain is going to resolve without effect, and the Drill Warrior is going to resolve. We're going to pitch the Gren and banish the Drill Warrior. And because I know that this is the Good Goblin Housekeeping, I can safely target this one right here. So Gren is going to activate. That's going to hit his back row, the new one. We're going to blow up an Imperial Custom, so a very high value target. Had he just gone for that Magic Planet first, he would have concealed all the information. And that tiny little mistake cost him actually quite a bit here. At least a 50-50, if not a better situation for him. Now, he's not completely dead in the water. He's got the Good Goblin Housekeeping to dig. He's got Magic Planer to dig. But he doesn't any longer have three continuous traps set up for his Uriah. So he can't really summon Uriah next turn, effectively. Now, in order to play around Morphing Jar, it is best for me to leave the gold in hand. And the only set monster I know about thus far is Morphing Jar. I don't know about Mask of Darkness quite yet. So I'm just going to attack. And it is Mask of Darkness, so we get kind of mixed up here. He could add back Reckless, he could add back Metal Reflect Slime. He likes to go with Metal Reflect Slime. I do not think that that is a good add back. I think that it's best to add back Reckless here, simply because next turn I can just summon Drill, pitch Gren, pop his Metal Reflect Slime, and he's just like in a bad spot again. So it's like, you're only adding back Metal Reflect Slime if you, like, I don't know, expect to find another Imperial Custom off Magic Planer. I'm not really sure. Main phase 2, I tribute set gold. This allows us for next turn, we can bring back Drill. Drill adds back Quick Draw. Quick Draw tribute set the Quick Draw, and then we'll have 3 darks for Dark Armed. So that's why I tribute set the gold main phase 2. Pass the turn. This is his second turn for Reckless. He activates the Magic Planner. He sends the Fiendish Chain. He draws 2. Finds Metal Reflect. So he has 2 Metal Reflects now and another Mask of Darkness. Pretty messy hand, but he does have enough to stay alive this turn. He can book my Drill Warrior, and then honestly what he should have done was Good Goblin Housekeeping, try to find a third continuous trap, so he gets set up 3 to set up for a Uriah situation. He does only have 2 in the grave, but the first Uriah he summons is going to be 5,000, which is pretty fucking strong. So we do draw gold for turn. I go Drill Warrior, add back Gren, which is actually a misplay. I should have added back Quick Draw, but I added back Gren because I didn't think that this would be Book of Moon right here, his latest or his oldest set. I didn't think it would be Book of Moon because I figured had he had Book of Moon before, he would have used it to stop my Drill Dandy. He would have used it to stop my Quick Draw Dandy when I was going for the Synchro plays, but he didn't use it. So I have no way to read that this is Book of Moon. So while I do say adding back Gren is a misplay, it's only adding back a misplay with 20/20 vision, which is, knowing that this is a Book of Moon. In hindsight, yeah, it's totally fine to add back Gren with the information that I had, I guess. Anyway, main phase 1, I go Drill effect to banish. He chains Book of Moon. So here's his mistake, right? Drill was summoned this turn. In my standby phase, all he has to do is just book the Drill. I can't flip it. And then I'm just locked with these shitty cards in my hand. I can tribute set this gold, but that only puts me to 2 darks because I added back the Gren. So it gives him a chance to get back in the game. But he waited till main phase, and he waited till I used the Drill effect to banish. And this is a significant mistake because I literally did this last turn. I literally booked my own Drill to dodge the Fiendish Chain last turn. So Chainlink 1 Drill, Chainlink 2 Fiendish Chain, Chainlink 3 book last turn. Now this turn, he goes for book in response to the effect. I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same exact chain. It's going to happen. Gren's going to get pitched. Drill Warrior's going to get banished. Gren's going to activate. I'm going to target one of the new sets because, once again, I know that that's good Goblin Housekeeping. No reason to target that with Gren. We're going to blow up that Reflect Slime. He says, wait, this works. And I said, I literally just did this same thing last turn. I did the same exact thing the turn before. So, yeah, I'm going to Tribute Summon Gold at this point because this ended up working out well for us due to our opponent's mistake. Special Summon Dark Armed. I can blow up the set monster, and then I can blow up the newest back row. And I don't even need to spend the Dark on this. I can leave the Gren, which is going to be our route to victory here. And then we can attack for a bunch of damage. He can good Goblin Housekeeping. He's going to find another good Goblin Housekeeping. We're going to deal a bajillion. Deal 2,800. Pass the turn. He's unreckless locked. He finds a D-Prison, but it's just not going to be enough. Drill Warrior is going to come back. We're going to have 4 threats, and he has no way to really stabilize or ever get this Uriah going. So going into game 2, we actually have like an insane sideboard for this matchup. Way crazier than it should be. We've got, obviously, Giant Truenade's insane. And we've got Dyna and Vanity's Fiend, which are also insane. And then we've got Royal Decree and Dust Tornado. So we have like a solid, really, really solid 7 cards coming in here. We could even technically bring in this DD Crow to weaken Uriah if we wanted to. But I don't think I elected to do that. So we go into the next game. I am going second. And he says, if you chain Book of Moon to the effective Drill Warrior, which banishes it, then Drill Warrior is still banished. He says, forgot that interaction. It's been a minute. And I thought this was really funny when I was playing the game because he says, it's been a minute. And normally when people say it's been a minute, it means like it's been a while. But in this case, he says it's been a minute. And it had literally been 1 minute since he saw that interaction. The turn before, literally 1 minute, I did the exact same thing, and he had seen it. So it's been a minute, quite literally. We open up with Decree, Jar, Trunade, and you know how this game goes. I don't even need to tell you guys. This is a brutal one. This is a brutal one. This is a brutal one. Royal Decree, get the chains, get all this stuff chained, and then we just Trunade. Keep it straightforward. Get our plus 9 million. Yeah, that's the most disgusting jar in the world. He is going to get to draw 5 new cards. Don't get me wrong. But he's also going to be at like 200 life points. And we have Royal Decree versus the deck that's like 90% traps. So, yeah. This deck here, it needs to decide Breaker, Space Typhoon, Great Peeper Spy Descendant, those sort of things. If you just run into Royal Decree, it's like an auto loss. So yeah, we put him down to 800. We set the Dusty, pass the turn, and he just concedes. He's reckless locked. He has 4 trap cards and a Mask of Darkness, and we have game in play. So yeah, pretty straightforward stuff. Cool interactions there with Drill Warrior and Gren, and also with Book of Moon and Drill Warrior. So showcasing off some of the strengths of that deck. Next up, in round 2, we are up against the Pete's Pizza. He's a very, very regular duelist in these 8-mans. He plays a lot. And today he is playing Frogs. We lose the Rock, Paper, Scissors again. And Frogs is probably the worst matchup for this deck by far. It's very, very bad. And the reason it's bad is because game 1, Dark World Lightning is kind of our combo piece. Gren, Space Typhoon, Heavy Storm. There's at least 7 cards that do nothing against Frogs. On top of that, Gold and Silva, who are kind of our payoff monsters, they're both weaker than any Monarch. So that's great. Obviously, really wonderful. And then on top of that, just that's pretty much it. Basically, they just have like a really, really great game 1 matchup versus us. Probably the best game 1 matchup versus this deck, besides maybe like I don't even know. Like some OTK deck. Maybe like Telidad is good against this game 1, like really good. But yeah, he gets to go first too, which is really bad for us. We open up with pretty much an unplayable hand versus Frogs. I am just going to upstart, see what's up, and we draw into even more unplayable garbage, and I'm like, well, we have Gold Sark, so Gold Sark can get us a fixer, and it's gonna get card destruction. I'm just going to hold everything. There's really no reason for me to card trooper attack into a Dupe Frog. At this point, I had finished my match well before he had finished his, so I did know that he was playing Frogs, so I knew what to search for, and that does give me a significant advantage. If I hadn't known he was on Frogs, I probably would have attacked his set with Card Trooper and tried to mill some cards. But that's not what happened. Here he hits me with the Game 1 Vanity's Fiend, showing off why his list in particular is especially devastating versus me. He attacks for 2,400. I said main deck, and I'm like, bro, very unlucky. He sets a back row, and I'm like, well, shit. At least I can out the Vanity's Fiend. but I'm going to be spending 3 cards out of my hand to do it, and my card destruction isn't looking good. So there's a couple ways I could do this. I could book the Vanities. I could Dark World Lightning, pitching the Gren, blowing up the set Vanities. That's another reason why this deck plays Book of Moon, is to set up for your Dark World Lightnings in case they're dead. This can target set cards, not just set spells and traps. It can also target set monsters. So it really beats up on Raikou decks. But Dark World Lightning here and discarding Gren leaves us with Card Trooper in hand, another Dark World Lightning in hand. I'd rather just have the Gren in the case of the card destruction next turn, and I'd rather spend my Typhoon now. So I'm going to go Typhoon, and then I could have set Book and passed. He would attack with the Vanities, we would book it, and then we would draw card destruction plus another card next turn. But I was just afraid of him having Heavy Storm, because he set his Space Typhoon. I'm like thinking the only way he'd set his Space Typhoon is if he has Heavy Storm. So I'm just going to Card Trooper mill 3, book his guy, and attack over it. Yeah, pretty much. Don't want to overthink it. Here comes Treeborn in attack. He goes for Creature Swap, which is a really interesting main deck card. So he's got a couple main deck cards that are, in my opinion, not the best. Like a Ryza here obviously would have been much more devastating, but he mills 3. He's able to attack over the Treeborn, and we see some new shit. We see Fiend Sanctuary, which is technically a burn card, comboed with Cyber Valley. So Fiend Sanctuary, Creature Swap, all these things are kind of adding up to be a very interesting deck construction. He's gonna attack over the Treeborn. We're gonna take 1800, and then he's got the Substitute for the main phase 2, which is brutal. He's gonna be able to set up the dupe lock, and we're kind of fucked. So we draw for turn. We find Morphing Jar, and I'm like, well, how do I win this? I just have to pass. He brings out Treeborn. He just passes. We draw a Lure. I'm like, okay, maybe I can find something to lure here. I find gold, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to banish the Gren. And because I have 3 darks here, I'm actually not going to Upstart Goblin. I'm just going to raw card destruction. Because I have 3 darks, and if I hit Dark Arm Dragon, I want to have 3 darks. And I don't want to draw into a dark off this Upstart Goblin and put myself to 4 darks after I card destruction, shutting off Dark Arm Dragon, which is one of the few ways I can come back into this game. So I go for the card destruction. I could have set Morphing Jar first. I decided not to. Draw 5 new cards, special summon my Woo Lord of Dark World. Here I activate the Upstart Goblin if I'm brain control. I have a couple of options to break up this dupe lock, but I basically just have to do it. Set one with the book, run over the other one. He's going to add back Swap Frog, which is brutal. We're going to Gold Sark for Dark Armed. Just basically copium that his hand is 5 dead cards somehow, and that our gold is going to survive 2 turns. Realistically, it's not. I looked at his hand, and I won't even reveal it for you guys. It was Jover. It was Jover. Anyway, we do have an interesting sideboard for this matchup, so I'm going to go over that with you guys, because it's not very straightforward. We don't have your straightforward anti-frog cards. We don't have Pulling the Rug, and we don't have Mask of Restrict. Those are the obvious, like Slam Dunks. Power Filter is another one. We don't have any of those, like Slam Dunk. Auto includes, but we do have some cards that are like uniquely good versus frogs. First off, of course, we got Vanities and Fossil Dyna. These cards are very powerful versus frogs. And then we've got DD Crow. So DD Crow is really nice in this deck because we can reuse it with Drill and just keep the Treeborns banished. And it can also help us make Drill with Quick Draw Synchron. So it fills 2 roles. It makes it easier to make Drill, and it also makes the Drill better, and it helps us deal with Treeborn frogs. We've got Mind Crush, which we can bring in just to like name shit. I don't know how to say it, but a lot of this game is going to be, do we draw a Dust Shoot, Mind Crush, you know, like kind of cheese, gives us cheese potential. We got Book of Moon, which helps us deal with Vanity's Fiend. And then we've got Double DD Warrior Lady, which can help us deal with Vanity's Fiend as well. So I brought in a fair bit of cards. I believe I brought in a full 7 or 8 cards here. I believe it was 7 cards. Sided out Space Typhoon, Heavy Storm, of course. Sided out both Grens. Sided out 1 Dark World Lightning. I sided out, I believe, I don't remember what else. Might have sided out Call of the Haunted as well. So we went like full anti-meta type beat. And our opening hand here is decent. We have Torrential, which is one of the best cards against frogs, and we get to go first, and we have gold, and I'm like, this is a great hand. We can just pass. This is one thing that I think a lot of players don't do enough of, which is just pass. Especially when you have cards like Dandelion in your hand, cards like Torrential Tribute, which can get you a lot of value if you feign weakness. Our opponent here could summon a Swap Frog and send a Treeborn. But how many situations with this deck, let's be real, versus Frogs, are we activating Torrential Tribute on the first turn? Very close to 0. Whereas how many situations in the later game are we setting Torrential Tribute and getting an absolute blowout versus Frogs? Like 99% of the time. Plus, in the situation where our opponent sets Typhoon, like he wanted to do last game, like you can see he's doing this game, we can bait it with the Book of Moon, and then set up the Torrential later. So here we draw another Book of Moon. I'm like, perfect. We have a bait. And so we set it. I get the bait, and he takes the bait. Pass the turn. He draws a card. He passes a turn. We draw Upstart. Gonna play it. We find Debris Dragon. I'm like, awesome. I can end phase discard Dandy, and I can set up for a pretty crazy board with like Stardust Torrential Book. It's very solid with Crow backing it up. I'm gonna set Dandy. I'm gonna set Torrential. It's also very nice because we'll have tokens to defend us against Creature Swap, which is a card I know he's playing. But he does have the Heavy Storm to clear our Torrential, so unfortunately for us, he does have the counter. He's going to go normal summon Cyber Valley, but we can deal with this. We can just allure, find Card Trooper, another book, and I'm like, pretty comfortable just spending a book, killing a Cyber Valley. There's only one other card in the deck I want to mill, which is another Dandelion, so I figured there's no real reason to mill here with Card Trooper. I'm just going to run over his guy. I'd rather leave the information for my opponent, like mill as little as possible this game, because the chances of me hitting Dandelion are actually pretty low, whereas the chances of me hitting something that I don't want to show him yet is pretty high. Here, Fiend Sanctuary, that's his comeback card. Sacks it for Caius, targets the set. Brutal. But our bodies are diversified. We're going to take 2,000. We're going to get a draw, and our Debris Dragon's still alive, which is all that matters. We drew another Khaki, which is annoying, but alas, here we are. Now, you can see the value of DD Crow. Not only as a hand trap, but when it's not useful as a hand trap in this matchup, it makes Drill, which is amazing. So we're going to go Quick Draw, send Khaki. Now, Khaki doesn't activate here because Quick Draw sends. It doesn't discard. But Drill Warrior does discard. So I can summon the DD Crow. I can make my monster 1200, attack directly to play around Gores. And then main phase 2, I can pitch Khaki and banish the guy. So this guarantees me damage. It gets 1200 damage. And then Khaki's going to blow up the Caius. And now I have Khaki Drill Lock. So Drill's going to be able to come back, add back Khaki, and I'm going to be able to blow up any monster that he has. Even if he's able to go Fiend Sanctuary or pitch Special Swap and then summon Vanity's Fiend to try and lock out my Drill, I have Book of Moon in the draw phase to shut off Vanity's Fiend, which is the strength of Book of Moon in this deck, and it's why you want the full 3 copies post board versus Frogs. So we kill the Caius, he passes a turn, we get Drill, Drill adds back the Khaki, we go ahead and summon Debris, bring out Card Trooper. Now we do mill 3 because hitting Dandelion is fucking insane, and hitting monsters to add back with Drill is also really good. So now we definitely do mill. We do reveal that we did side in the Mind Crush and the DD Warrior Ladies, but I think at this point, we have control, so it's a matter of us closing things out. Here he summons Gores on the first attack, which is, in my opinion, a mistake. Should have summoned it on the second attack here. He has the life total to give. Now we are just able to attack over the token and then pitch the known Khaki to blow up the Gores. So we attack over the token, pitch the known Khaki, blow up the Gores, and now he has nothing in play. And we just want to hold this Book of Moon. There's really no reason to expose it. Even though Heavy Storm and Typhoon are gone, we want to play around Nobleman of Extermination. Some Frogless play it. Other ways of blowing it up might include, like, I don't know, just somehow blowing it up with like Unifrog or something, and then us not being able to answer Vanity's Fiend later on. So yeah, just no reason not to hold it. He sets a back row. This turn we go Drill, comes back, adds back Khaki, and I'm just gonna send it. If he has Mirror Force, I can book my Drill Warrior if I have to. So I attack. He has Battle Fader. I pitch the Khaki, banish the Drill, and you can see these guys with Drill Warrior, it's insane. Like the advantage every turn you get between Gren and Khaki with the Drill Warrior is nuts. We've now popped Battle Fader, Gores, and Caius all with the same Khaki, which is very, very good. Go ahead and set the Solemn Judgment. He pitches Unifrog, Special Swap Frog, sends Treeborn, sacks for Vanities, and I figured I might as well Solemn this now. Now I have Book of Moon to stop this Vanities, but I'd rather preserve my Ancient Fairy Dragon, because I would lose the Ancient Fairy Dragon if I didn't Solemn it now. So I'm just going to Solemn it now, and then I have Book of Moon to stop things if things go crazy wrong. He passes the turn. Drill comes back, and this is where a big mistake happened. Drill adds back Khaki. We attack, 2100. attack 2400. Opponent drops to 1200. We activate Drill, pitching Tragodia, and then he end phase Burials. So he had the out to Drill, but he didn't use it till the end phase. Took an extra 2400 for it. Let me add back a card and filter my hand for it. Absolutely should have used it in the standby phase, putting back the Drill and the Fader. So definitely a mistake from the opponent. He did put back the Dandelion as well. Another mistake. He doesn't know that we only play one Debris Dragon, so it's definitely a mistake here. Pass the turn. Here comes Treeborn. Treeborn's going to get sacked for Vanities. He's going to run over the Ancient Fairy. But we do have card destruction Khaki. So as long as we draw a monster that's 1200 or more, we win the game. And we do. We draw perfectly. Now Gale is really good in this matchup because it can answer Resolve Vanity's Fiend, Resolve Caius. And it would have got us out of this situation somewhat. It would have put us in a sticky situation if he had Caius follow-up. But we are able to summon Gale, activate card destruction, discard Khaki, and book a Moon. Khaki's going to activate destroying the Vanities. And as long as the card he drew isn't Battle Fader, we win the game this turn. And as you can see, it was not Battle Fader. It was Turbo Synchron. So Khaki's going to activate, blow up the Vanities, and yeah, we have exact game. So it was a really, really, really nice game, showing off the power of like the little Dark World guys. I think they're very slept on. I think the ability to just blow up shit is like fucking underrated, honestly. Blowing up cards every turn with Drill Warrior, it feels crazy. It feels like you have this like Scrap Dragon / Psy-Frame Lord Omega / filter my entire hand into anything I want. Like, it's just really, really powerful when you have Drill going. So I think moving forward, I might even want a third Quick Draw Synchron in this deck, just to really lean into that Drill Warrior like power. This game we open up pretty slow versus Frogs. We do have Vanity's Fiend, but we have no way to facilitate it. We do have Sangan, but again, no way to facilitate his effect. Normal swap, sends Treeborn, passes. This is very bad for us because if we DD Crow the Treeborn, he just sends another Treeborn. It's like not a big deal. So I figured I'm going to hold the DD Crow. I'm going to try to get him to bring back the Treeborn and leave it in play. I'll DD Warrior Lady, banish that Treeborn, and then I can DD Crow the second one, and then he'll be out his Treeborns for the rest of the game. We draw Dandelion, which isn't great, but it gives me an end phase discard play, so we just pass. Unfortunately, he opens up with Substitoad as well, so he's able to go Substitoad. But he doesn't go through all his Frogs, so I'm like, he must have all 3 Swap Frogs in his hand. Let's take a look. As you can see, he does not. He actually has only 2 Swap Frogs. So him not going through the Frogs here, I think is pretty bad. I definitely would have gone through all the Frogs if I was him. You're just not thinning your deck. Like, you really need to draw into payoffs. You don't really have a lot of great payoffs in your hand. You only have Turbo Rocket, which doesn't answer Drill, and you have Dark Dust Spirit, which doesn't answer Drill. So, yeah, a lot of stuff that I think, you know. Anyway, again, end phase, discard Dandy, get the 2 tokens. Once again, doing nothing versus Frogs. I think people really underrate this play. He's going to draw for turn. He finds another Substitoad, so not thinning his deck there, costing him at least a draw step. He's going to summon Swap Frog. He's going to pitch that Substitoad he drew for turn. He's going to summon the other Swap Frog, send the other Substitoad. And while he's able to clear both tokens, I mean, he had to use a real card to do that. So he attacks over both tokens. And things are looking okay for us. I'm not going to say they're looking great because our hand is super bricky. But as long as we find what we need to find, then we're okay. Here I'm going to go for Debris Dragon, bring back Dandelion, Synchro to Black Rose. And this is the best feeling because Chain Link 1 has to be Dandelion, and Chain Link 2 is Black Rose. And because Black Rose is Chain Link 2, that's going to activate, destroy everything in play, and then I'm going to get 2 tokens, and the Dewfrogs are going to miss timing. Because the last thing to happen is going to be the tokens being summoned. So, he doesn't get to add stuff back. We can just pass. That being said, I mean, like, we're still losing, but we were able to clear the Dewfrog with, like, little effort. Very little effort. Now, Dark Dust Spirit is devastating for our hand because we don't have a great way of dealing with it. He's just going to pass. He's going to activate Fiend Sanctuary, so he doesn't have to discard, but that's fine. We draw Solemn, and I'm like, okay, Solemn's really good here. I'll just set Sangan, set Solemn, pass. He draws Unifrog, which is very good for him. Now, during his standby phase, he has to choose whether or not he wants to destroy the token or pay 1,000. He elects to actually destroy the token. He brings back Treeborn, and then he normal summons Unifrog, and now I see a pathway to victory. He's going to attack for 400. He's going to pop my back row, which is Solemn, and I'm like, okay, beautiful. All I need to do is DD Warrior Lady, banish the Treeborn, and then I can DD Crow his other Treeborn. Then he won't be able to repeatedly Dark Dust me, and I'll have a chance. And he makes another really, really good play for me, which is pitch swap frog, special swap frog, bounce unifrog. I haven't set a back row this whole game. That unifrog is useless. But having that ability to special the swap frog is massive because that gives him a way to turbo out a Dark Dust Spirit or go for game later on. So he basically spends this swap frog pitch summon to preserve a unifrog that is guaranteedly dead. He leaves Treeborn in play, so I can DD Warrior Lady, banish the Treeborn. I can crash my Sangan with the swap frog, which is much better than my Sangan attacking over Unifrog, because that means I get a search for quick draw. Here I find Gold Sark, I normal summon DD Warrior Lady, I crash into swap frog, and I make a fucking terrible play. I search for Gale. It's so bad. Why did I search for Gale when I know about Dark Dust Spirit? I have to search for quick draw here. Oh, it's such a bad play doing this. But for some reason I was thinking like I have to crow the Treeborn. Anyway, DD Warrior Lady banishes the Treeborn Frog. And then I Gold Sark. I search for Dark Armed Dragon because I have one Dark now, but I can easily facilitate another two. So, pass. Here comes Treeborn. I DD Crow it. And, yeah. He just goes Sanctuary, sack for Dust Spirit to get 2200. So he spends the Sanctuary as a 2200 burn spell, which is actually, I think, smart play from him. He has another Sanctuary to get damage in. He has Turbo Rocket to get damage in. He has Creature Swap. So he has a lot of ways to get damage across. So I think this is actually a very smart heads-up play from him. Just going for damage. Passes the turn. We draw a Card Trooper. I'm forced to just set that. He draws Burial. So both games ripping his Burial at clutch moments, stopping us from getting our Dark Armed and getting his Treeborn Frogs back. Very, very strong for him. He goes Special Summon Treeborn Frog. He goes Creature Swap. Tribute summons the Dark Dust, and it's able to get in another 2200. Now notice, had he kept either of those Swap Frogs in hand, pitch special, deal that last 1000. Alas, here we are, and I'm chilling and vibing. Dark Dust gets bounced, we draw Upstart Goblin, and I basically need to rip. I go Upstart, I find Dark World Lightning, I'm like, that's not it, but maybe I can bait some stupid Unifrog bullshit. I'm going to set my Khaki, and I'm going to set Dark World Lightning. No, I didn't set Dark World Lightning this turn. I just set Khaki. Here he goes, Dark Dust attack. Bounces. Now one thing he could have done there was actually attack my set monster and hope that it has 1000 or more defense and just immediately burn me for game. Alas, he didn't do it. Honestly, if it even has 600 or less defense, or 600 or more defense, it's good because then Unifrog is lethal next turn. He didn't do that play though. Not utilizing Turbo Rocket's game shot effect, which I think is a mistake. We pick up Morphing Jar, and I'm like, okay, I gotta pray. I gotta pray he doesn't have a way to put 1000 on board. Here comes Unifrog. He's gonna go attack for 400, hit my back row, blows up Dark World Dealing, and he's gonna set enemy controller and pass. Unfortunately, I can only pick between sacrificing for Vanity's Fiend and flipping Morphing Jar. So I'm forced to flip Morphing Jar and hope I can find my Fossil Dyna, or at least another way to lock out Treeborn Frog. So we hit a bunch of cards in his hand. I'm like thankful we hit all these cards because Creature Swap's a game shot at this point. Dark Dust Spirit was impossible for me to deal with. Turbo Rocket was a game shot at this point, so I'm really happy I cleared all those cards. We pick up Silva, Torrential, and Card Destruction, which is amazing. We get a Khaki, blow up the Unifrog, and I'm just going to shotgun the Card Destruction. We have these powerful cards, but there's a chance his set card is Heavy Storm or Space Typhoon, and I don't want to set Torrential into that. We haven't seen either of those cards this game, so yeah, I don't want to potentially play into a backbreaking Heavy Storm, and I just really, really want to hit Fossil Dyna this turn. So I Card Destruction, I discard 4, I draw 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you'll notice it didn't quite matter yet, but I have this Allure, and it does hit the Fossil Dyna. So being those cards deeper does end up mattering. I'm not sure if it mattered on setting the Torrential or not, but I think we would have hit the Dyna either way. But just the fact that like we needed to get that deep to find Dyna, I think it was the right play to go for it this way. We lure, we banish the other Silva, we normal Dyna, and I say, fuck it, you don't have Mirror Force. He thinks here, telling me basically his back row's enemy controller. I attack for 3,500. I go ahead and set that Mind Crush and pass the turn. He summons Cyber Valley. He activates enemy controller. He tries to take the Silva for game, but we do have Book of Moon. So thankfully for us, he didn't hit his Heavy Storm or his Space Typhoon. He might have even sided them out. I'm not really sure. He sets a back row and passes. Back row is the 1-for-1. I don't know why he would set this, but maybe he's bluffing something, bluffing Mirror Force. And it does get me. I do switch my monsters to defense. Attack for 23. Set my Upstart at my book to play around Space Typhoon. He draws into another dead card. He just sets a Battle Fader. I draw Dust Shoot. I attack the set monster. I set the Dust Shoot. Pass the turn. I Dust Shoot him. I see he draws the Space Typhoon for turn. We're going to take Caius because Mind Crush can hit both Vanity's Fiends. So, yeah, that's just game. We're going to attack for 23, and there's really nothing he can do about it. We're just going to take over. Damn. That was a crazy close match. I think he definitely fumbled the middle game a little bit. He recognized that he needed to go for damage, the Fiend Sanctuary, and the Dark Dust Spirit. But hopefully this showcased a lot of the strengths of this deck. You know, you have card destruction. Pitching Kaki turns your card destruction into a straight up monster targeted monster removal, Regeki Break. And also showcasing the power of like Book of Moon and how the utility of Book of Moon in this deck can help you even in your hardest matchups. So yeah, I think this game went as good as it could have gone. This matchup's probably pretty terrible. Probably need to side more Dyna type effects just for it. And then the finals is up against Sane 411. I lose the rock paper scissors, so I lost all 3 rock paper scissors with Dark World. Very crushing. You'll see my hand. I've got some okay cards here. I've got Gold Sark to maybe try and find something, but my opponent leads off with like the worst. So I've got 4 cards that are completely dead to Dimensional Fissure. Silva, Sangan, Call of the Hunted, and Dandelion are completely dead to Dimensional Fissure. And then even if I clear the Dimensional Fissure, Thunder King stops my Sangan, so my hand never gets turned on. I draw Dark Armed, another card that gets stopped by his setup. Can't summon it as long as D-Fissure stays in play, and then if I clear D-Fissure and get 3 Darks, Thunder King can negate it. So I'm basically just forced to Gold Sark and try to survive to get this Typhoon going. I set my Call of the Haunted, I pass. He finds DD Survivor, he just swings in both. And at this point I'm like fairly certain he has Starlight Road, because he said everything pretty confidently. I Upstart, I find Dark World Lightning, I'm like, that's pretty good. If I set a monster this turn, I can maybe survive till next turn. He summons a second Thunder King. I figured Sangan is the worst of my monsters, so I'll use it to just buffer my life total. It's going to hit me for 19 and 18. So the way I see myself coming back into this game is he has like Dark Bribes and like Starlight Roads and like Silva sticks around. That's the way I see myself winning this game 1. I draw into space, or I get my Space Typhoon. I draw into a second Dandelion, so worst possible hand versus D-Fissure. I Space Typhoon the D-Fissure. He doesn't respond with like Macrocosmos or anything, so I'm like, that's a bad sign. Probably means he has a removal spell for Silva. I need to snipe it. I Dark World Lightning and I hit Sakuretsu Armor, and then immediately I know what his deck is. Because if you ever see Sakuretsu Armor, this is how this deck works. It is all 1-for-1 removal trap cards. There's no Starlight Roads, there's no anything like that. It's all just 1-for-1 removal trap cards. And that means he has no Starlight Road set. He just has 3 removal spells. But that's the worst case scenario for me. I should have Gold Sark for a Heavy Storm. In the future, I'll Gold Sark for a Heavy Storm versus this. The reason you can tell this information, because, okay, so like, if you're a deck builder, right, and you're like putting together your deck, I'm gonna show you a little activity. This is a little bit of like how you can decipher information. Edison format has like 900% information. It's literally like how much information can you figure out and what can you play around given that information. That's like literally, if you can do that well, then you're good at this format already. So let's say I'm going to say this, the Survivor deck. And this is what my brain is immediately doing. When I see Sakuretsu Armor, 1 copy of Sakuretsu Armor, that means I've already maxed out Dimensional Prison. Right? I've already maxed out this. I've already maxed out Bottomless. I've already maxed out Mirror Force. I've already maxed out Torrential. I've already maxed out Solemn. Right? I've already maxed out Return, because I'm playing a DD Survivor deck. I've already maxed out, like, Oppression. I've already maxed out DD Warrior Lady, because these are all cards that are better than Sakuretsu Armor. I've already maxed out Neospatian Grand Mole. Ooh, wrong one. Reinforcement, right? Reinforcement of the Army. Thunder King. I've already maxed that out because this card's better than Sakuretsu Armor. I've maxed out Cyber Dragon. I've maxed out DD Survivor. Macrocosmos, right? Dimensional Fissure. And now if you look at this deck composition, this isn't enough monsters. But these are all cards you would play before you put Sakuretsu Armor in your deck. You know what I mean? These are all cards you would include. Tragodia, this card you would include. Spirit Reaper. fucking Smashing Ground is a card you would play before you played Sakuretsu Armor. So I'm assuming there's at least 3 of these. You know what I mean? Like Banisher is a card you would probably play before Sakuretsu Armor. Trap Hole is a card you would play before Sakuretsu Armor. So, like, after seeing Sakuretsu Armor, I know that his deck is either poorly built, which means it doesn't have Starlight Roads in it, or I can deuce the entirety of all of the cards in it. And this isn't even accounting for, like, Trap Dust Shoot yet. This isn't even accounting for, like, other crazy broken cards you could have, like Brain Control or Mind Control plus Cyber Valley. You know what I mean? Like, this is just the cards that are better than Sakuretsu Armor. So, like, this is kind of a deductive technique you can use. When you see a certain card in someone's deck, you can safely assume what the deck composition is looking like based off of, like, cards they had to choose not to include in order to include this card, basically. Anyway, I know he has at least 5 Battle Traps, is basically what I'm getting at. So, Bottomless Trap Hole gets used here, and I'm assuming that this deck is just a boatload of 1-for-1 spot removal and, like, DD Survivors and Macrocosmoses. And so that gets bottomless. We set Dandelion. It keeps us alive for a turn. He tries to Rhoda with Thunder King in play. Can't do that, obviously. Sets back row, attacks on the Dandy. We get 2 tokens. We do survive a turn. Thanks to this, we do draw Upstart. We find Heavy Storm. I activate Heavy, confirming what I had suspected that he set for with no protection. Chain Call, get the Dandy tokens, but at this point it's kind of Jover. The only thing we can draw is Debris Dragon to wall out, and that's not going to be good enough. So, yeah. Just a messy game. Had I Gold Start for Heavy Storm, maybe we could have had a chance, but even then it was unlikely. So, here we get to go first for Game 2. And siding in this matchup, we have a lot of good options. We have Royal Decree, Dust Tornado. It's 4 great options. Giant Tornades, it's 5 great options. Thunder King, Cyber Dragon. That's at least 7 good options. And then we could side in Book of Moon. And Book of Moon is actually pretty good here because if you book DD Survivor and attack over it, even if Macrocosmos and Dimensional Fissure are face up, for some fucking reason, DD Survivor doesn't come back. It's like a ruling in Edison format. So Book of Moon can help us permanently kill DD Survivor. I'm assuming his deck is very threat light. And it's also interaction under Royal Decree. I'm going to side out Mirror Force. I'm going to side out Dust Shoot. Obviously, he's a set 5 deck. I'm going to side out, some of my trap cards because I'm just bringing in Royal Decree. And actually, I think I left in Mirror Force. I think I sided out Dust Shoot. I think I sided out Call of the Haunted. Yeah, I sided out Call of the Haunted and Dust Shoot. I brought in the Dust Tornadoes, the Royal Decrees. I might have even sided out Solemn. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I sided out some of the graveyard cards. I think I sided out Sandgang, Card Trooper. I sided out one of the Dark World Lightnings and one of the Dark World Monsters. I think it was Khaki was the one I sided out. And then I sided out 1 Quick Draw Synchron as well. Like, we still have the 1 Quick Draw Dandy combo, but you're really looking at just, like, winning with Decree Cyber Dragon in this matchup. Because, like, they can't really beat that. So, yeah, that's basically what we got here. I go Upstart, I find Space Typhoon, I go Upstart again, I find Dust Tornado. And my hand's great. I just can set 3 and pass. I'm not really scared of Heavy Storm. He's going to go ahead and set a bunch, activate D-Fissure. On the summon, I'm going to Dust Tornado the D-Fissure. He's going to attack. I'm going to Mirror Force. And he's going to lose his DD Survivor. Main phase 2, he's going to end the turn, and I'm going to end phase Decree to play around Dark Bribe or Solemn. I'm assuming he's playing neither of those because of the Sakuretsu Armor, but just in case. We find Dandelion, set that, set the Typhoon and pass. He sets a new back row, not worried about that. He summons Thunder King, attacks the Dandelion. Another reason we sided out Sangin is because of Thunder King. Gets the tokens on our turn, just tribute summon gold, run over the Thunder King. He doesn't play Honest, he plays D-Fissure, so. Set the book, pass. Here comes DD Warrior Lady. We just let this trade. But yeah, we got a nice little 2-for-1 there. We find Gren, which can potentially be useful later on. Just pass the turn. He sets back row passes. We have Gold Sark, which is going to help us find Debris Dragon, which will help us set up a Synchro Monster under our Royal Decree. We Allure, we find 2 new cards. We could have kept both Grens to card destruction them away, but there's really no point. Decree's already beating the back row, so I'm just going to banish the Gren and pass. He draws Exiled Forest, he attacks over the last token, but that's fine. We have Debris into Ancient Fairy. Once again, this matchup is just going to be about establishing a slightly larger than average monster and having Decree up, and that's exactly what's happening. We attack over that for 1100. He concedes after drawing what I'm assuming was 7 trap cards. A little bit of a premature concession, but maybe just wanted to adjust his deck in accordance for Royal Decree. So this game he gets to go first, sets 2, summons Thunder King, passes the turn, and this is where my opponent's lack of knowledge against some of these cards actually bites him pretty hard. I go ahead and upstart, draw into brain control, activate Dark World Lightning. So there's a couple of outcomes here, right? My opponent's back row is Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. So he could let this resolve, right? And destroy the Shadow Imprisoning, and then I would activate my Dark World effect. Or he could activate the Shadow Imprisoning Mirror in response, in which case I lose my Dark World Lightning for free and don't discard anything. What my opponent elects to do is far worse than either of those options. He solemns my Dark World Lightning. So he solemns a card that he can negate by doing literally nothing, by just flipping the Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. I'll take it. Dark World Lightning the other one, and then just doesn't chain it. And here comes Silva. I almost half expected him to try to negate Silva with Thunder King, which obviously you can't do. So yeah, Silva runs over, set Book of Moon, pass the turn. Mistake setting Book of Moon here. I should have held it in hand for card destruction. He activates D-Fissure, he normal summons Exile Force, and he pops my Silva, which makes me kind of sad, but whatever. We're not under any pressure. Now we are, though. He finds Beast King, and this tells me the real truth. His deck is playing Skill Drain as well. So we got to deal with Skill Drain. It makes sense with Exiled and Thunder King that he would be playing Skill Drain, so we're going to take 1900. Draw for turn is Gale. I actually make a huge fucking mistake here. I was supposed to just summon Gale and have his guy and run it over. But instead I Allure, which ends up working out okay, because I do find something that can kill the Beast King with Book. So, yeah, we do that. Pass the turn. He sets one, then he attacks with DD Warrior Lady, banishing my Thunder King. Pretty surprised to see him side in Mask of Restrict, but it kind of makes sense. Kind of not really. We do draw Dark Armed, and now it's the time to card destruction. We just want to find pressure. He draws an extra card on accident, but not a big deal. We find Royal Decree, which makes me happy, and we find Gores, which makes me happy, so we can just pass. He sets two, flips Mask of Restrict, and I'm like, alright, whatever. Sets one, passes, we draw Trag, I'm like, alright, I can't lose. Find Dust Tornado, I'm going to set that pass. He finds Gale, which makes all of this awkward, but it's still fine. I'm going to Dust Tornado, target the D-Fissure, and set Royal Decree off of the Dust Tornado, just so I can activate Royal Decree on my turn. I'm gonna drop Trag here. So I'm going to take 1300, drop Trag. On my turn, I can Royal Decree, I can sack my Trag for a gold, and win. Here I try to end phase Royal Decree, which is an illegal play, but it doesn't matter. I would have just done it on my turn either way, and it wouldn't have made a difference because he can't stop it. So, yeah, I activate the Royal Decree. My monster's 2400 because he forgot to have it, and he just loses the game. So a couple of misplays from my opponent this game 3, premature concession in game 2, and then the just honestly the horrible turn 1 from him with the double Dark World Lightning. Which really impresses me, because he made it to the finals of the 8-man. Like, he beat 2 other players playing like this, which is pretty impressive. Because I feel like this is an unlosable matchup for him. Like, this matchup cannot be good for me. But somehow, through the power of knowing what Dark World Lightning does better than our opponent knows, we are able to win an 8-man with Dark World. And that's a pretty exciting comeback to the game after a really long weekend. I do want to give a couple shout-outs before we wrap this bad boy up. I want to shout out the people I met at Summoning Fest last weekend. I went to a music festival last weekend with a bunch of my music friends for, music stuff, right? Because that's what I do for work. And I met some other, artists, some other people there who, recognized me from RBET. And it was the craziest thing. It was crazy because these were people I didn't know professionally in the music industry that I was looking forward to meeting, and they knew me from a whole different thing because they watched the RBET coverage, and I was like, that is so insane. That's so insane. I even had a guy pull me out of a mosh pit, and he's started talking to me about Edison format, and it was just the craziest thing. I was like, bro, I'm here to party, but this is kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie. Edison format has become something massive. It's become so big that even Dueling Book has finally conceded to adding the ranked ladder. This is bigger than I ever could have imagined. No, I don't want to save changes for this garbage. It's become bigger than I ever could have imagined. Do I like that things are moving in this direction? Sure. Yeah, I think it's cool. I think Edison's a great format. I think it's still very diverse. I think you can still win with anything. I think you can still outplay people with anything. I think there's still a lot of room to explore. This is a deck list that I'm playing today that I have never seen anyone try something like this before. I've never seen anyone play a deck list like this before. I don't know. I feel like there's still so much to be done in this format, and that's a good sign because we are a solid 2.5 years into heavy competitive play with this format, and there's still a lot to discover. So let me know in the comments if you like this stuff, and subscribe if you like this stuff, if you made it to the end of the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.